God of Slaughter, Chapter 800. Shi Yan's ambush on Peng Jia and Feng Rao were deadly, particularly to Feng Rao, who was pressed deeper into her pit so that she wouldn't be able to wiggle out of there. These serial actions actually happened faster than a slow talk. Ganji was pinned in the hard rock by the 3 bone thorns that pierced through his hand. Seeing Shi Yan gliding through the air to approach him, Ganji felt an extreme rage and pain. At the same time, he wanted to vomit blood. No matter how hard he had imagined, he couldn't predict Shi Yan's dark and vicious mind. Shi Yan had condensed a chain from starlight to bind him tightly. Ganji discolored. Crack crack. He tried to urge his energy without caring about his bleeding hand. The gravitational field was rising one more time. 200 times heavier gravity. Shi Yan sank under the gravitational field effects while dashing forward. He fell toward Ganji. "Kid, you court death." Ganji roared indignantly. A massive rock under his feet flew out instantly like a cannonball, shelling Shi Yan grumblingly. Boom boom boom. The starlight chains thrust through that massive rock. Chipped rocks shot out massively. Shi Yan stood like a mighty storm inside the shower of rock, his face cold and grating. His god domain changed all of a sudden. Space confinement. The rocks that curved and exploded in the air were suddenly suspended in the air. They stayed still strangely in the void. Even Ganji, with his third sky of King God realm cultivation base and his magical power, was affected. He could only stare at Shi Yan, who came closer as the energy in his body stopped circulating. Break. Ganji faced the sky and screamed. His face reddened as he furiously urged his power to break the space confinement. Ganji's essence chi condensed into the light blades that shot up into the sky from his body, aimed at Shi Yan. Shi Yan's face remained unchanged. While he was hovering in the sky, his powers Upanishad changed again. A slit was torn near the horizon, engulfing countless light blades that shot out from Ganji's body. With an imposing momentum, Shi Yan changed his god domain a second time. Shining massive hand seals as big as the doors pressed down, bombarding Ganji. Boom boom boom. The dead seals pounding on Ganji's body were like giant hammers. His god body had many concave spots. He became extremely exhausted. As the hand seals contain the mysteries of death, as soon as they hit Ganji's god body, they immediately started wreaking havoc on his bodily functions, preventing him from gathering his essence chi. The old man could only attempt to dodge with futile attempts. Ganji, Peng Jia, and Feng Rao spent half a month strenuously chasing after him without any pause to refill their energy. Right when they arrived at this meteorite, the 3 had engaged in a battle, which was also the second time they had to use massive amounts of energy. After being ambushed, one of Ganji's hands was useless now. Shi Yan's dead seals had shelled him badly. Eventually, Ganji was hurt severely. The vitality in his body was running out under the dead energy invasion. Ganji's face and god body paled like a paper sheet. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth. He was distressed. Shi Yan hadn't shown even a hint of his mercy. His thought flickered and the wheezing sound of the 3 bone thorns arose again. Shi Yan was gathering and condensing the dead energy unceasingly together with the negative energy. Massive dead seals appeared in the air one more time. They looked more like the evil eyes gazing at Genji. They pressed down with a loud crash. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The whistle of the three bone thorns was so ear-piercingly loud that it felt like it could even stir up people's souls. It made Genji's his heart crack. Crack crack crack. As the dead seals were pressing down, the area where Genji was lying looked like a block of tofu under a harsh impact. Chipped rocks became powder, scattering with the wind. The light cage Genji was trying to maintain remained deformed, revealing his pale god body. The bone thorns thrust into Genji's chest, smashing his internal organs. His broken bones and pieces of intestines splashed out from his body. Genji was completely damaged under this strike. His god domain disappeared, and the 100 times heavier gravitational field vanished. "We can talk," Genji screamed. He finally expressed true fear. He faced the sky and cried, "Give me time to talk. We can negotiate." Boom. The massive starlight mallet pounded from the sky like a meteor falling into the earth. It hit Genji right at his chest. Right when he finished, his god body couldn't hold it anymore. It exploded shortly. Cut limbs shot out as his body fell. "I'm sorry. You have the third sky of King God Realm cultivation base. I can't afford to be reckless." Shi Yan finally said something as he landed by Genji. The three bone thorns spun around him like three lightning strikes. Although Genji's god body was destroyed, his soul altar wasn't shattered. In this given circumstance, he knew that he couldn't resist Shi Yan anymore. Genji didn't hesitate, making his soul altar fly out in an attempt to escape into outer space to preserve his god soul. As long as his soul seal hadn't been damaged, when his god body was destroyed, he had two options, of which he could choose to find a host and cultivate to restore, or he could use a pregnant woman's baby to resurrect. As long as his god soul wasn't eradicated, he still had hope. With the right period of time, it wasn't impossible to regain his current realm. The soul altar was a magical thing that nothing could compare to. Secret treasures that could break the soul altar were really rare in this world. Genji's three-tiered soul altar floated like a ghost. He threw a glare at Shi Yan with resentment before running away. "Get out." Shi Yan's face was icy cold. He touched his glabella and his soul altar flew out. The dark section of the second tier in his soul altar instantly released an eccentric and evil suction force. Genji's three-tiered soul altar struggled. His god soul felt the deepest fear ever. However, no matter how hard he had shaken, the soul altar couldn't escape Shi Yan's black hole-like soul altar. Genji's soul altar disappeared little by little. Shi Yan's eccentric power Upanishad had swallowed the three-tiered soul altar, leaving nothing. Crack. At this moment, a strange sound arose. The echoing and energy condensed, shooting towards Shi Yan's chest. As his soul altar had flown out of his body, his god body became weaker. After the impact of that energy, blood in the shape of a flower bloomed on his chest. A hole was broken open right there. Crack crack crack. Feng Rao, who used to have no bit of energy remaining, floated up from her pit, wiping away the blood trickles from her mouth and her body. She was stunned, looking at the soul altar floating outside Shi Yan's body. Fen Rao had never heard or seen any supernatural powers Upanishad that could engulf the soul altar. This bizarre and malignant power had never appeared in the raging flame star area before. None of the people there had ever heard about it. Such evil existence made Fen Rao shiver in fright. "Kid, what kind of evil powers Upanishad are you cultivating?" Fen Rao paled, holding the thunderbolt ball. She looked quite unnatural. While she was talking, each of her words was fused with her power Upanishad. For the time being, the extremely loud sound reverberated, creating a tremendous sound wave swarming toward Shi Yan. Fen Rao had startled Shi Yan. He didn't think much, immediately calling his soul altar back to his god body. Shi Yan didn't bother with the hole in his chest, using the space power as the foundation to create the god domain. Space blockade. Each syllable falling in his god domain was frozen for a while. Shi Yan didn't reply to her. Starlight shot out from his 10 fingers, breaking her words with a cold face. Shi Yan conveniently grabbed the star map and put it away. He turned and gazed at Fen Rao, his visage somber. "It seems that it is not only me who calculates a lot." Fen Rao's conditions were much better than what Shi Yan had thought. Ganji and Peng Jia had joined hands to attack her, putting her under the mass of rocks. Shi Yan had pounded her using the massive starlight punch. Although Fen Rao had been hurt continually, at this moment, she looked robust. The energy was circulating vigorously in her body, which proved that her essence Qi was still abundant. This woman's competence was beyond Shi Yan's imagination, and it was indeed intimidating. "I've still calculated wrong." Fen Rao's face was dark and cold. "I've calculated that Ganji and Peng Jia would use tens of thousands of rock to attack me. I would wait under the pile of rocks they had put on me until they finished their battle. Then, I planned on coming out and cleaning it up. I didn't calculate that you could interfere and hurt me the second time." She looked at Shi Yan angrily. "The cunning one should be you. Ganji, Peng Jia, and I had underestimated you. And today, they are dead from your hands, the hands of the one that no one thought was strong enough. You've gained the upper hand. I think Ganji and Peng Jia couldn't close their eyes even after their death now." Shi Yan shook his head mockingly. "I have the lowest realm here. If I haven't used tricks, I would have been killed quickly." He didn't hasten to take action. The bleeding hole in his chest had several broken vessels. Once he was engaged in a battle, they would affect his energy circulating. While he was talking, the immortal demon blood was urged to heal the wounds. It seemed that Fen Rao was also thinking the same thing. She understood that Shi Yan was tough. At the same time, Fen Rao was also wounded. Before she talked to him, she had swallowed pellets and medicines. She was recovering her energy quietly. She had the third sky of King God realm cultivation base, and the pellets she used were all divine grade ones. She believed her recovery speed was faster than Shi Yan's. Ganji and Peng Jia were all dead. This area was bleak and isolated. No one would pass by. In other words, she had only one enemy, which was Shi Yan, of course. As long as she could kill Shi Yan, she could finally achieve her goal. "I have never heard about any wicked powers Upanishad that can swallow the soul altar. I'm curious. Who are you after all?" Feng Rao still maintained a distance from Shi Yan as she was afraid that he would take action when she wasn't vigilant. She was talking while also staying on guard. I'm also curious about what's hidden in that star map. Why is it worth several hundred years of your time and even your life? Shi Yan smiled. The star map emerged on his palm. He cocked his head to look at it before looking back at Feng Rao. Will you explain it to me? If you tell me the method and the power that you used to swallow the soul altar, I will tell you what the star map hides. How does that sound? Feng Rao gently wiped the blood on her body. Her clothes were short, not enough to conceal the marvelous features of her body. Today, they were even more ragged, exposing her mesmerizing glamour. While she moved her jade-like hand, blue tattoo glistened strangely and beautifully, which were able to sway people's souls. Come forward. We should talk. Feng Rao walked forward honestly. While her long legs were moving, her beauty flashed from time to time. Dreamy words came out from her mouth that made people drunk and listen to it. Shi Yan's soul trembled. He couldn't help but think that she was starting to look hotter. The lustful flame of desire was ignited in the deep place of his heart. He started to gasp. He understood that this woman was attacking him. This was a seducing sound.